You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
We all need self-expression. The most effective way to express ourselves is through words. But according to the Stuttering Foundation, close to 80 million people worldwide stutter today. This is Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. After years of practicing conventional speech therapy, Anna Deeter has pioneered a new and effective approach to this debilitating habit. So now, please welcome the host of Live Stutter-Free, Anna Deeter.
Good Friday afternoon, my dear friends. This is Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter, on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What a great weather. We finally have a beautiful summer weather in Florida. It's just a paradise on earth. The sun is shining, the birds are flying, the fish are jumping, just like in the song. Everything is so beautiful, everything is so great. I just love this time of the year in Florida when there is summertime. Unlike what they tell you that Florida is not good at summer, I love summer in Florida because this is like a real paradise. But why I am talking about it today on this Live Stutter-Free show, believe it or not, it has a direct connection to the topic of our today's lecture, of our today's show. I am living in a beautiful moment of my life right now. I call it a paradise, and I do believe that paradise and hell really exist on our planet. Before we die, before we leave our body, we can get ourselves to paradise on earth or hell on earth. They both exist. And it depends on our actions where we are going to bring ourselves to. So what I want to talk about today is about the concept called time. It's a very interesting concept. What is it? What do we call time? It's a kind of very relative concept. We measure this concept in time units like in hours, minutes, seconds, days, months, years, right? We have only one exact reality. And this reality is the reality of a present moment. There are many books written about this. I love the most the book The Power of Now of Napoleon Hill, who explains that the only reality we have and the only time when we have reality is now, in the present moment. Whatever happened in the past, yeah, it may happen, may not. We may already not remember that. Some people who were there remember it in a different way. So past is not real. And guess what? The future doesn't exist yet. And once again, why I'm talking about it? Because anything we do in our life is about the present moment of our life, because this is the only reality that we have. So once again, how does it relate to speech? How does it relate to stuttering? Very simple. Speaking is the action that we perform also only in the present moment. There are so many recommendations about you need to practice. You need to do it for a long time, long-term cure of stuttering sickness. You go on YouTube and you see these recommendations all over the place. Everyone tells you, if you stutter, how many years of your life have you been stuttering? 10, 20 years? It means this is the amount of time you need to spend on practicing and reversing this bad habit. This is what they say. It kind of doesn't make sense to me because I understand what timing is and how our speaking mechanism works. I understand it cold. I happen to be the only English speaking person on the planet who really knows what speech mechanism is, how all normal speakers speak, what do they do when they speak. I know that, and I understand the mechanism. I understand the cause, the main reason for each and every mistake people who stutter make in their speaking. I understand why they act in such a strange way. This way of behavior of people who stutter looks strange only for people who don't understand what's going on inside of the head of a person who stutters. I know it very well. So, present moment is a very important time, and it's the only time when we can perform an action correctly or not. Only in the present moment. No matter how much you could be practicing, you will never become an automatic speaker. This is the point I'm making. Speech is an action that we perform in the now. And what's also important, whatever we do at the present moment, it is always the result of what we want to do at the present moment. Nobody can force us to do if we don't want to do something. Even when a young child in the family, let's say the parents take him to learn to play piano, a child doesn't want to stay and practice for hours. It's boring for this child. But he would still obey his or her parents. He would agree to do it. And he would also want, at the moment of his piano practice, he would want to pay attention. He would want to listen to a teacher. He would want to sit for hours at the piano and practice. Maybe he doesn't really want it, but he makes himself want. He pushes himself because he or she wants to please his or her daddy and mommy. So everything we do in our life is according to the desire that we have at the present moment. Our only birthright that we have is called the free will. We have the power to choose. We are free to choose whatever we want. And if we want to do something correctly, in case we know how to do it, we can do it correctly right now. We don't wait for a long-term practice. No, the moment you know how to perform an action correctly and you are focused on doing it correctly, that's it. You don't need any long-term practice. We're coming to the first commercial break. After we come back, I will continue reading the new harmful advice to those who stutter from those who have no idea what stuttering is. Talk to you in a bit.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host Anna Deeter on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Today, the topic of our show is harmful advice of those who have no idea what stuttering is to those who stutter. But before I begin reading these recommendations, which I started explaining last Friday. I do recommend you go back and check what recommendations you people who stutter should never ever follow if you don't want to stutter, if you don't want to completely destroy your natural normal speech. I would like to thank those of you, my dear listeners, who have sent your feedback via email, different social media places, Facebook. Thank you so much. I know that you have watched and have listened my last week's show. And here is one of the messages I received through Facebook. This person watched my show on YouTube in the recorded way. Here is what he wrote. I'm not gonna change anything. This person probably lives in other country. His English obviously is not his mother tongue, but I will just read it to you. Thank you for the last video in BBM Global Network. You destroyed all fake methods and saved my time and money to following these fake solutions. I am blessed that I wasted little money on this fakeness. And this is exactly what my goal is. I really would like you to stop listening to thousands and thousands bad recommendations, because misinformation, unfortunately, is everywhere today. Anywhere you go, you watch YouTube videos, you watch other social media videos, you read articles, you go anywhere on any website, you go to any speech clinic, speech therapist, speech pathologist, everywhere you just get misinformation upon misinformation. And this is really hard to get through because it is just kind of in our mind. The whole society believes this huge misinformation. But let's go to the many harmful advice, harmful recommendations that these people who have no idea what stuttering is, what causes it, why people stutter, what is speech, how normal people speak. They don't know it. They may speculate, they may fantasize, they may hypothesize, but they don't know it. I happen to be the one who know it. I know how speech happens. I know what stuttering is. And I'm here to share this information with you, my dear people who stutter, and my dear speech professionals who, I don't blame you. You don't know it because you have never been trained what speech is. You don't know what it is. Okay, so let's go. It all starts in the young childhood when our children come to school, and unfortunately these crazy educational programs begin pushing our children to go beyond the physiological limits. There are limitations of how we use this body-mind machine, this body-mind device. We cannot go beyond the limit. You know, like when we're driving a car, there are signs on the road. You cannot go faster than, let's say, 35 miles per hour, right? In United States of America. Or you cannot drive faster than 65 miles per hour on the freeway, right? If you go beyond the limit, what's going to happen? You're going to get fined. The traffic patrol will stop you and you will have to pay for breaking the law. But when you go over the limit of how your body and mind can physically operate, you pay the price. You don't pay money. I mean, in the long run, yes, you pay money because you begin looking for help, right? But you pay the price. You get confused. You don't understand. Why do I make mistakes? Why it happens? Especially when you are a young child who is still learning to operate his new, relatively new device, body and mind machine for speaking. So children come to school, and here they have an elementary teacher, first graders. Look at her like she's God. Everything a teacher says, yes, this should be true. She's my teacher, she knows better. And guess what this teacher asks children to do? She asks them to speak fast, faster and faster. How? For example, she or he asks children to acquire reading skills, and she has to give them tests. It's a whole system of education. The test called fluency reading, right? So every child has to read certain number of words per minute. The norms grow with every year. At first it's this number of words. The next year it's more words. And I know that by the third grade it's like over 200 words per minute. It's just insane. It's beyond the limitation of our physical body. We're coming to the next commercial break. I apologize. I again talk too much. So when we come back, I'm going to begin reading the first for today, harmful recommendation, which our children, our teachers, our speech therapists should never ever follow or teach. Talk to you in a bit.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
Live Stutter-Free with your host Anna Deeter on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio is continuing. So here it is, the very first harmful recommendation of a teacher, of a speech therapist, of a parent that a child, a young child, should never follow. When a teacher asks to read certain number of words per minute, and a child, poor baby, he doesn't even know how to say certain words. He's still new to speaking, but he is pushed, he's forced to read beyond his limitations. He doesn't have a skill to do this yet. But the teacher with her pointer is standing there. Come on, fast, fast, fast. Here is a stopwatch. Go, you have a minute, run. And a child learns to run, 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 run. After he's learned the habit of running, they send him to a speech pathologist, therapist, because of course this is impossible. Running is impossible. When we run, we make mistakes, we fall, accidents happen, and a child begins making mistakes in speech. And of course, the teacher sends this child, poor baby, to a speech therapist, and there is a speech therapist. And a speech therapist, of course, says, you need to slow down. You need to say 30 words per minute. So a child is ready to run 200 words to please the teacher, but then he goes to the room next to the classroom, the office of a speech therapist, and there 30 words per minute. This is a huge confusion that is happening in the mind of a child. He doesn't know who to listen to, who to please. He's confused. And of course, that's what it begins with. Stuttering is the result of confusion in the mind, the emptiness of the mind. I don't know how I'm supposed to do it. I'm confused. And of course, a young child doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know. So here it is, the advice to speak faster or to speak slower. Normal people never care about the rate of their speech. They don't care. Whatever I speak, so people could understand me, so I would transmit the information. Here is how this faster, slower advice goes. If you want to see this, number one, don't forget to join my YouTube channel and watch this presentation recorded. I will put the pictures in this presentation. So, or you can simply go to the website www.livestutterfree.com and just scroll down the home page, push the link and download and see at least 13 harmful recommendations that you as a professional should never give to people who stutter, and you as a stutterer should never follow. Okay, here it is. On the left there is a teacher with a pointer. She is standing by the board, and of course on the board it's written faster. Okay. On the right there is a speech therapist or some other representative of a allopathic healthcare profession. She has a white robe, and she also points to the white board where the word slower is written. And a little baby, the first grader, young child, maybe 5-year-old, 6-year-old, is between them. He's torn. He doesn't know who to believe to. And this is what's going through his mind. This is how it goes. Of course, I tried to rhyme it because I believe this is easier to understand. So are you ready? Let's go. I passed my test of speedy reading as fast as fluent reader scored. I read 200 words per minute, received a champion award. Then my speech therapist detained me, reversed my mind from speeding state. Say only 30 words per minute and slow down your speech rate. I came from school in big confusion. Who should I listen when I speak? Do I sprint fast to please my teacher, or gear down like a freak? Should I add anything else to this? A child becomes confused. Because normally, if a child begins learning to speak in the wrong way, it does happen. Of course, he needs a special education teacher. Each and every special education teacher should be trained how to help a child with stuttering. Not speech therapists, not speech pathologists, not any other representative of a health profession. No, it has to be a specially trained special education teacher, and the title of this kind of a teacher should be speech teacher, speech educator. That's it. Why? Because a person who stutters should not ever focus on the rate of speech. You, a person who stutters, should always focus on the correctness of your speaking. You need to learn to operate your speech instrument comfortably, independently, just like all normal people do. So once again, it's not slower, it's not faster, it's somewhere in the middle. It's what is comfortable for you. And if nobody ever pushed a child, read faster, come on, speedy reading, faster, faster, here is your test. And then nobody would go, speak like a moron, like a freak. It's just too much. Something is too slow, too fast. It has to be in the middle, how it is physiologically comfortable for the body. And a child would have learned it if he wasn't influenced by these nice professionals, by these adults who have no idea what speech is and what stuttering is. We're coming to the next commercial break. Talk to you in a bit.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
Thank you so much for listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host Anna Deeter on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And we are continuing talking about recommendations of those who don't know what stuttering is, what speech is. And this recommendation have been given to those who stutter. So here is the next harmful advice. It goes like this: seek speech techniques. This is the bottom line. This is like the core of all bad recommendations. Because when a child becomes confused and the concerned parents take this child to a speech therapist, of course, this is what they believe. They believe if something is wrong with my child, I should take him to a specialist. And guess what? These specialists only have harmful recommendations for your child. Only. They have no idea what stuttering is. Okay, I'm not going to repeat it anymore. So, and they engrave in your child's mind, in your mind as a parent, that you need to teach your child some techniques. Your child needs a technique, a method, a tip, a trick, how to speak. And when people who stutter grow up, they still believe, I cannot speak like a normal person. I can never speak independently. I can never, ever learn to speak, to walk. Speech is like walk. Independently, I cannot do it. I need some kind of a recommendation. I need some kind of a technique, advice, tip, trick, strategy. Otherwise, I am going to fall in my speech walk. Here how it goes. I have a picture in my hand, and on the page I see a man. He wears some kind of a headset, of course, because it's one of the recommendations, listen, right? And a microphone, and he has 2 crutches underarm. He's limping alone, and right next to him he has a whole box taller than him, maybe not, but tall box with all kinds of other crutch methods. When I say crutch, cane, just a stick for handicapped man, for a blind man, a stick. These concepts are all names for a method, a technique, some kind of help that a person who stutters begins speaking from the moment he has come to a speech therapist. That's where it starts. Okay, so here how it goes, what this person, of course a person who stutters, tells us today. This is what's going on in his mind. I've been convinced I need assistance with walking straighter in my speech, and always look for helping methods to overcome my stutter bridge. I found many speaking crutches and endless help techniques I've gained. I limp with them in conversations. I am dependent on a cane. Because of crutch techniques and methods, all people see my bent speech walk. I am afraid to drop these crutches and show no skills to walk, because I've never learned to manage my own body-mind machine. Instead, I'm looking for and craving on methods and techniques to lean. Normal people never seek any speech techniques. If you ask any normally speaking person, what technique, what method do you use in your speech? And a person will look at you, I don't need any techniques. I don't follow any techniques. I just speak. This is exactly what normal speech is. If someone asks you, how do you walk? What method do you use when you walk? You will look at this person and go like, I don't know, I just walk. I just move my legs and I walk, right? This is exactly what all normal people on the planet do. They just speak. They don't need any techniques. So the moment a child, a young child, believes that he needs to seek a technique, look for a technique, look for a strategy, look for steps, look for how to speak, he becomes a stutterer. That's the bottom line. It's really, really hard concept to understand, but this is reality. If you want to become a normal speaker, even if you don't want to come to Anna Deeter and become stutter-free in only 3 days and never ever make mistakes, and even if you do make mistakes, you immediately know what to do to correct that mistakes. Just like in walking. If you walk and you stumbled on something, you made mistake in walking, right? You can immediately correct it. Okay, I stepped in a puddle of water. Oh, be careful. Okay, I shouldn't do this. And you adjust your walking. You may be more cautious when you walk. You kind of watch your steps, right? The same is happening in our speech. We do make mistakes, but we immediately adjust our body-mind machine, our speech computer, our speech instrument for producing correctly our words. And that's it. So in order to do that, stop looking for techniques. You don't need techniques because each and every technique demonstrates, shows to people, he's a stutterer. Look how funny he speaks. And if you want to speak like a normal person, simply learn to operate independently your own speech instrument, just like all normal people do. Next commercial break. Stay tuned. The next speech advice, harmful advice, is going to be even more ridiculous. Talk to you in a bit.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
And we are back to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter, on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. So just as the previous harmful advice, keep looking for methods, techniques, tips, tricks, there is another advice which is also extremely harmful, that alters your personality, that alters your life, and you lose your identity. You become confused about who you really are. It is advice of seek speech helpers, speech advisors. Always look for someone to help you. Don't do anything yourself. It robs you of your independence. The moment a child learns, I am sick, I need to listen to what others will tell me to do. I cannot walk independently in my speaking. A child stops speaking independently. Or even if he speaks when he absolutely has to do it, like when we want to go to the bathroom, we have to do it, we go to the bathroom, right? But it doesn't happen all the time. That's what happens to a child who has been convinced that he cannot do anything independently. He should wait for others to advise him. He should wait for others to give him a crutch, to limp with a crutch, to rely on something. And this advice is as harmful as the previous one. It's ridiculous, it's harmful. And again, when I work with my students, I see it in each and every person. They are so lacking independence. They are dependent on everything. Even if they are doing it correctly, even if they don't stutter anymore, they still don't believe that they are doing it correctly. They can't believe it. And they keep asking questions. Did I understand you correctly? Did I do it right? How did I do it? What is my grade? Can you tell me how I did it? And this is a special point I make during each and every course that I teach, with each and every student that I teach. What about your self-evaluation? I am just, I'm here to give you information. It is your job to self-evaluate. Evaluate yourself and not ever rely on someone else's evaluation. This is such a new concept for people who stutter. They go, what? I need to evaluate my own speech? Because they always are used to evaluate their mistakes. They have no idea what did they do correctly. And every time they make a mistake, which of course is painful, after they do, like for example, breathing, and they hurt themselves with swallowing too much air, getting oxygen on top of their carbon dioxide. They don't have access to carbon dioxide. They keep breathing in oxygen. It's painful. Their chest painful because they are like a balloon ready to burst. So when they do it, of course, it's painful. You cannot not notice it, right? And then they begin thinking, what did I do wrong? They have no idea what they're supposed to do right. So, once again, it's a very harmful recommendation. On the page, there are 3 adult specialists. They wear white robes, like green robes of a nurse. And there is one person who stutters, like a patient sitting in a wheelchair. He again wears some headset, he wears a microphone, he has a pocket, and in his pocket there are a lot of pills sticking out. And of course, these 3 people ready to help, ready to sell their services to this person who stutters. They all have very kind faces, wide smiles. Yes, we are ready to help. Pay us, we will help you. No problem. And a person is totally confused. He's sitting in the wheelchair and he is thinking this. This is what he is telling to us. I've been convinced I need assistance to straighten up my walk in speech. I need to look for helping people to overcome my stutter bridge. I found many kind assistants. They hover over me like bees. They help me learn techniques and methods. They smile and charge indecent fees. Without helpers on my own, I feel like little helpless shrimp. They help me walk in speech and promise that in some future I won't limp. So yes, those who offer services, all kinds of services of stuttering cure, they're very optimistic. They promise to you, it's gonna be better. Yes, you're never gonna cure stuttering, but it's gonna be better. Just follow us. Follow our recommendations. And don't you dare do anything on your own. You need to do it in the way I told you to do. Your helper tells you to do. And because this idea hasn't come from a person who stutters, it's coming from someone else. Even if it was right, even if it's coming from me, because a person who stutters doesn't really understand. I mean, he doesn't have all the information that a person who teaches has. He gets confused after the course, even after speech therapist course. He may feel a little better, but he doesn't understand what this is all about. And he gets scared the moment he makes a mistake. He goes, "Oh, I did something wrong. Let me go back and ask, what did I do wrong?" And he comes back to a service provider. He pays again. It's not a lot, it's a little bit. Returning customers usually pay less. But he continues to be dependent. The relationship between a stutterer and a speech therapist or a stuttering cure provider is like drug dealer and drug user. That's what the relationship is. So when we come back, we're going to have a few minutes. I'm not going to read the new advice. We're going to talk a little bit about this relationship. This is very important. Talk to you in a bit.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
We are back, Live Stutter-Free with your host Anna Deeter on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And during the commercial break, I had a wonderful commercial. The words were, "No more fuss, just leave the mess to us." This is beautifully illustrates the harmful advice that I just read in the previous segment. Of course, when it comes to dogs, taking care of dogs, it's nice. Of course, we don't want to deal with fuss, dealing with dogs. Yeah, I understand. But unfortunately, the same attitude a child learns when he is young. No more fuss. No more learning to speak, no more learning to operate your own body-mind machine. In the same way others do, just leave it to us, come to us, don't do anything yourself. We will take care of you. And this simply teaches a person, he grows up completely dependent on others. He believes that he himself cannot do anything. He needs advisors. He needs to depend on others. And every time I work with my students, I see in each and every one, I see this feature. You know what their favorite word is? Sorry. That's what they like to say. Sorry. They say, "I'm gonna try." Sorry. I apologize. All these words are mental programs for losers, for dependent people. These people depend on others. They don't believe that they could do it themselves. I'm here to tell you, you are what you do. If you look for methods, you will find methods, but this is exactly what you're going to be doing till the rest of your life. You will be relying on methods. If you are looking for helpers, you will continue rely on helpers. You will continue limping because you are exactly what you do. If at the present moment, remember in the beginning of the show, I was talking about the present moment. If at the present moment you're looking for helper, you will continue looking for helpers, for help, for advisors, for methods, tips, tricks, techniques for the rest of your life. Only when you understand, I am the only one who can learn to speak normally like everyone else, then you will be able to achieve it in only 3 days. This is what it takes to learn how to operate this body-mind machine and to begin speaking like everyone else. No different. If you would like to learn more, I recommend you go to the website of our non-profit organization, and we really appreciate donations. It is www.livestutterfree.com, and please download and read free ebooks. It will clear your mind. You will learn a lot of information. Next week, I will continue reading more ridiculous, harmful recommendations that if you are a person who stutters, you should never follow if you don't want to destroy completely your speech. And if you are a person who deals with stuttering, you should never ever recommend it to your patients, that's how you call it, or clients. So I will see you next week, and we are going to continue our conversation. I wish you a lot of success. Talk to you in a week.
You've been listening to Live Stutter-Free with your host, Anna Deeter. Listen each week and learn how to become unblocked, liberated, and live stutter-free with host Anna Deeter.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.